It is entirely too hot for this sweatshirt, but I had to be on theme. Hey babes! I'm gonna apologize in advance if I keep on messing with my hair. I honestly cannot stand having my hair down anymore. I really am ready to just chop it off. It's too long, it's just on me all the time. It really irritates me, so I don't know. I might be getting a cut soon, but that's not why you're here. Welcome back to MoonbaeCrochet. My name is Brandy. I feel like I have not sat down to film a video in like 800 years. It's crazy. But we are finally back, and today I thought it would be a fun video idea to tell you guys about my favorite yarns. I will be going into specific brands that I love, how much it costs for each skein, how many yards come in a skein. This information might not be like 100% accurate for everybody who watches this video. I gathered the information that I could from the stores that are accessible to me that sell these types of yarn. So it might be a little bit different depending on where you shop for your yarn and stuff, and like depending on what kind of sales are going on. I wrote down the just retail price, not sale price, for all of these skeins of yarn, but these are going to be my absolute favorite brands of yarn that I'm immediately drawn to them as soon as I walk into any craft store. These are the yarns that I go to first. So if this video sounds interesting to you, feel free to grab yourself a drink or a snack and join me as I tell you about my favorite types of yarn. My beverage of the day is going to be, that is a homemade brown sugar oat milk shaken espresso. Okay, made it myself. Hello, I'm a barista or whatever. And if you like my cute little Moana cup, I got it from an Etsy shop. I cannot remember the name off the top of my head. I feel like, I'm not going to try to guess, but I'm going to put it right here. If you're interested, I think that creator, that little small business, makes the cutest Disney mugs or like glass can type things, and like the design is like on there. It's not like a peelable thing, which I love. It's just like imprinted onto the cup. So yeah, I really love it. Super cute. One more quick little disclaimer I want to get out of the way. This video is not sponsored in any way. It feels a little bit silly to say that because obviously my YouTube channel is so tiny, like who would sponsor me? But I just feel the need to say, like, I'm not getting paid or anything. Nobody is like telling me to recommend these brands. These are genuine recommendations from me, things that I have in my collection and that I will continue going back to. I just love these brands, so I want to talk about them. So let's jump right into it. So I have this broken up into 3 categories, and the first category is the biggest one, which is acrylic. I could go into a whole like dissertation style rant on this, but I just feel like people who hate on acrylic yarn are silly geese, okay? I understand if a crochet artist specializes in plushies and amigurumi and they want to make their stuff cutesy and fluffy and they don't want to use acrylic yarn, that's one thing. But if you like actively talk mess about acrylic yarn, I just feel like that's a little bit of tomfoolery, you know? I feel like most people get started crocheting with acrylic, and also acrylic is just so much more accessible to people, I think, especially if you're just barely getting started or you don't have like too much money. Acrylic is very like affordable and stuff, so I don't know. I will never bash acrylic. I love it so much. I think it's so good for so many different things, even amigurumi and plushies, okay? Again, also, not talking mess about the cute, like fluffy stuff. It's just, don't be a yarn hater, okay? Don't be a yarnist. I got that term from my bestie at All Dolled Up Crochet on IG. Okay. Anyways, gosh dang, I've been filming for like 8 minutes now, and it's like, what have I said? So let's start off with our acrylic category. These are in no particular order, although, I don't know, the way that I rant and rave about some of these, you might be able to tell which ones are my absolute favorites. But the first yarn I have listed on my acrylic category is Big Twist Value. If I am not mistaken, I think that Big Twist as a brand is exclusive to Joann. So if you live in an area where there is not a Joann, I am so sorry. But also, I'm not, like, you might be able to order it online or something. But Big Twist Value is, in my opinion, a dupe of Red Heart Super Saver, which is also on my list, but I'll get there. And in my opinion, it feels much nicer than Red Heart Super Saver. It's like slightly softer, so I find it a lot better to work with, and the color range is like darn near spot on. They have maybe not quite as many colors as Red Heart Super Saver, but huge color range regardless. Oh, that's what I should have done. I should have looked up how many different shades these yarns come in. So sorry. But I'll leave links to all these yarns down below so you can go check it out for yourself. Oh my goodness, excuse me. But yeah, Big Twist Value is like my go-to acrylic yarn because you can pretty much find any color that you're searching for. And if you just want to make something like, I don't know, a wearable like a cardigan or something, or the granny squares, I just feel like it's just nicer to work with than Red Heart Super Saver. But I'm not knocking Red Heart Super Saver, okay? It has its time and place too. But I find it also is a lot more affordable usually. So retail price, it is actually the same exact price as Red Heart Super Saver. It is $4.49 regularly from Joann, but it feels like anytime you go on the Joann's website and look, it's on sale. And usually the sale price is somewhere between like $3.50 or like $2.79. I think that's as low as it goes. But $2.79 for a skein of yarn that provides you 380 yards is an incredible deal to me. I mean, it's called value for a reason. So I cannot recommend Big Twist Value highly enough if you are looking for just like a good acrylic yarn to get started with. Maybe you're a beginner. I think that that is the way to go. However, I understand if you don't have a Joann's in your area and it's not really accessible for you to go online and order it, then I do have some other options here on my list. But if you do have a Joann's in your area, definitely check them out. Big Twist Value is top tier basic acrylic yarn. Next up on my acrylic category is one of my absolute favorite yarns that I've ever discovered, ever. Well, I didn't discover it. Like, who am I, Christopher Columbus? You know what I mean. I like read about it, and then as soon as I tried it, I cannot get enough. It is a little bit more expensive, but just, oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. That is Lion brand Heartland yarn. Oh, I don't think I stated this, but all the yarns on my acrylic category are size 4 medium weight. So yes, Lion brand Heartland is also a size 4 medium weight yarn. The retail price is $6.49 per skein, and you do get 251 yards in a skein. So it's not quite as much bang for your buck as you'll get like with a Red Heart Super Saver or like a Big Twist Value. But I think that Lion brand Heartland is a more like premium kind of yarn. First of all, the softness is incredible. I think that this is probably my favorite yarn to go to if I want to make a wearable, like a cardigan or a scarf, anything like that that you're going to wear, like have against your skin. I think that this is like my go-to yarn for that because it is just so like cozy. It's like nice and squishy. It's soft. Like, I love it so much. But what I love even more, the color range is like gorgeous, but every single skein, it's like almost marbled. It's not a variegated yarn. They're solid colors, but it's almost like you have flecks of certain colors in there. It's not like a solid one-dimensional color. It's kind of like you just get like little tiny flecks of, for example, the black skein has like little tiny flecks of like gray in there to make it look a little bit more two-dimensional. It's not a flat color, and I love that so much. And just the amount of colors and things that you can do with that, it makes for the most gorgeous wearables, I think. Although I have used it for amigurumi and stuff, and it also works out beautifully. I think Lion brand Heartland is the yarn to go to if you want to make like a cozy sweater or something for the fall or winter time. That is like, ugh, I love it. I want to bust out all of my Lion brand Heartland. Like, I love it so much. Also, the drapiness of the items that you make. I made one year my stepdaughter and niece's Hogwarts style, like, or like, you know the sweaters that Mrs. Weasley makes for Harry and Ron that one Christmas in the Sorcerer's Stone? I made them sweaters like that with like a little mock neck and then the initial here, and I made it in each of their favorite Hogwarts house colors, and it just came out so cute, and they fell so beautifully. They fit perfectly, and I can't harp on Lion brand Heartland enough. Please check it out if you're looking to make some beautiful wearables. You will not be disappointed. Next up on my list for acrylic yarns that I love is, of course, the classic Red Heart Super Saver. So Red Heart Super Saver is the exact same price as a ball of Big Twist Value. It is $4.49 retail. You do get 364 yards in a skein, so only slightly under what you'll get with the Big Twist Value, which was actually a surprise to me. I always thought that Red Heart Super Saver had more. I don't know, when you get the ball, it just feels like more dense, but that might have something to do with the fact that I think Big Twist Value, again, is softer so maybe it just squishes a little bit more. And you know, the Red Heart Super Saver, to me, in my opinion, is a little bit more dense. It's like the slightest bit more scratchy, but that might sound like a bad term, because I know so many people make like wearables with it and stuff, and they come out great, and so that's awesome. Like, I try my best not to use it for like wearables, but I use it for things like granny squares or like blankets, things like that. And what I will say, the Red Heart Super Saver color range is impeccable. Like, huge color range, so many different shades. I just think it's incredible, and I think that this is one of the most accessible yarns that you can find, because I think that you can get it at both Joann and Michael's, or pretty much like any craft store you go to, so that's great. And most of the time I do find that it is also on sale, much like the Big Twist value. So if you don't have a Joann's in your area, but maybe you have a Michael's, I feel like usually you can find it there. I'm not sure if they sell it at Hobby Lobby as well. I just think that it's like a really accessible yarn, and it comes in so many different colors, so no matter what project you want to do, I think it's a really good yarn for everybody, that everybody has access to. Red Heart Super Saver can just open up a world of possibilities for you, especially if you're barely getting started and you want to learn how to crochet with acrylic yarn. Perfect beginner yarn. Next up on my list of acrylic yarns that I love is Caron Simply Soft. Now, Caron Simply Soft is a yarn that I get a little bit apprehensive to use when I'm making like wearables and stuff, because though it is a size 4 medium weight yarn, just like all the other ones on the list, I feel like it's just slightly thinner. Like, it's closer to a size 3 than a size 4. You just got to be really careful if you're going to make wearables with it. I think you need to definitely do a gauge swatch, which I fail to do a lot of the time. So yeah, maybe that's why I have issues, but still, it is a gorgeous yarn. So silky smooth. So I could definitely see why somebody would want to make like something like a beanie or like a scarf with it. Even little like stuffed animals are like cool. Like, it's just a pleasure to work with. Super smooth, and it has a huge color range as well. It almost has like a sheen to it. I'm not sure exactly how they get it to be so soft and like sleek, but I think it's a perfect yarn if you want to make something that somebody's going to use a lot, and you want it to just be kind of like luxurious and soft. Caron Simply Soft is a little bit more pricey. Again, I think it's just because of the quality. It's more like premium yarn. It is retail price $5.49 a skein, but you do get 315 yards in a skein, so that's actually like, you're getting a pretty good deal there. And again, most of the time I feel like these craft stores never have anything for regular price. If you do, just wait like a week or two and it'll go on sale. Okay, second to last thing I have listed for my favorites of acrylic yarn is Lion Brand Pound of Love. This is like a staple if you know you're going to make a big project, so you need like a lot of the same color of yarn. Just get a 1 pound ball, or you know, multiple 1 pound balls if you know you're going to need a lot more. But so much value. I don't know too many brands that make 1 pound balls of yarn, but what I do know is, I'll go on record and say this, and I don't care who has a problem with it. And you know what? I just praised Caron Simply Soft in the last point. So Caron 1 pound yarn is the bane of my existence. I hate it. I hate it so much. Hate is a strong word. I hate it. I hate Caron 1 pound yarn. I feel like it is so stiff. It does not make good wearables. I don't even like using it for like amigurumi or anything. It's stiff. It's stiff. It doesn't feel nice. It's like rough on my hands as I work with it. And it's just like a plain Jane old size 4 medium weight yarn, but just, wow, I don't like it at all. I have about, off the top of my head, I can think of at least 4 skeins of Caron 1 pound yarn that I've had for at least 5 or 6 years. At least. And they're not done yet, because guess what? I hate using them. And so I try to just sprinkle them in here and there when I'm doing like certain projects that don't really matter about like how they feel and stuff. But goodness gracious, it's horrible to work with. Why am I just going on a rant about Caron 1 pound yarn and how much I hate it when this is supposed to be a video about yarns that I love? I just had to throw that out there. The Lion Brand Pound of Love is better than Caron 1 pound by a mile. And that's on period. I think it's so much softer. I love the color range. If you're struggling to think of a gift to give like your crafty friend, get them just a ball of Lion Pound of Why can I not say this? I'm saying Lion Pound of Love, Lion Brand 1 pound. Like, please get it together. If you're struggling to think of like a gift to give to your crafty friend who like knits or crochets, and you happen to be at a place that sells Lion Brand Pound of Love, just grab one in a pretty color. They will love you forever. Plus the value that you get here. Usually it's on sale, but the retail price for Lion Brand Pound of Love is $11.99. So it seems, you know, it's definitely up there, but you get 1,020 yards in a skein. So that's incredible. That will go for a while. Like, you can definitely make things like blankets and stuff out of that and only have to use like maybe 2 or 3 skeins of yarn. So that's an incredible value in my opinion. Okay, the last yarn that I have listed for my acrylic category is Loops and Threads Impeccable yarn. Now, this is the first yarn listed that I think is exclusive to Michaels. I think the way that like Big Twist is exclusive to Joanne, I think Loops and Threads is specific to Michaels. Again, like with all the other ones that I've mentioned, the color range in this brand of yarn is incredible and it is so nice and soft. I would say that it is like on par with the Lion brand Heartland with how like nice and soft it is. So I think it would make amazing wearables. My only caveat to this yarn, I don't know how the Loops and Threads factory works over there, okay, but I don't like the way that it is wound. I feel like I can never find the middle pull and I'm constantly having to untangle it as I'm working with it. But if other people know like ways around that and how to like deal with that, then that might not be as big of a deal for you. And I think that with how soft and like luxurious the yarn is, it is still very worth it. The only thing is you don't get as much yardage as you do with some of the other ones. It is kind of like on par with the Lion brand Heartland, just a little bit less expensive. The Loops and Threads Impeccable yarn retails for $4.99 per skein, and you do receive 285 yards in a skein. So a nice like little ball of yarn. I mean, not too small, but definitely not like super like value the way that you would get with like a Big Twist or a Red Heart, but definitely a great yarn to look into if like Michaels is your craft store of choice and you're looking to make something nice and cozy. It also does work well with like amigurumi and stuff. I have made plenty of stuffed animals out of the Loops and Threads Impeccable and they always come out nice and soft, so great yarn all around. So that was my acrylic category. Wow, I've been filming for 27 minutes. Ooh, let's speed this up. My next category for yarns that I love is the chenille category. I've only recently started working with chenille yarn and I can see why people love it. It is like beautiful, but I definitely like don't think that it's beginner friendly necessarily. If I had started crocheting with chenille before I learned how to crochet with acrylic, I think it would have been so much harder for me because it's just a little bit harder to see your stitches with like chenille yarn in my opinion, especially if the yarn is really thick. So that's my only caveat to that. But if you're already like experienced in crochet or you just want to give it a shot and you think that you can do it even if you are a beginner, Godspeed, okay? Chenille yarn is definitely a little bit of a luxury, definitely a little bit more expensive, but you can definitely get some of the most gorgeous plushies you've ever seen by using chenille yarn. So I cannot recommend it highly enough. But don't be a yarn snob, okay? If people are making plushies out of acrylic yarn, let them be. I personally do both because despite the fact that yes, plushies made out of chenille yarn might be a little bit more cutesy, my acrylic yarn needs to get used up. So, anywho, my first up for yarns that I love in the chenille category is Sweet Snuggles Light, of course. It is by Loops and Threads as well. So again, I think that this is exclusive to Michaels. It doesn't have the biggest shade range in the world, but it's definitely big enough where I think that you can find a color for something that you're going for. It retails for $9.99 per skein, which is actually pretty good deal for what you're getting, and you do get 218 yards in the skein. So it's a pretty hefty ball of yarn, especially because it's like, you know, the yarn's so thick. It is a size 6, super bulky. My only gripe with this yarn is that it does shed. I wouldn't say it necessarily sheds too much while I am crocheting with it, but when I'm doing the details such as sewing on limbs and ears and little pieces, I find that where my needle is and like where I'm pulling, it definitely wears thin. Like you can see the little thread that connects the fuzzy part. I don't even know. Somebody out there knows what I'm talking about. It definitely is not like, doesn't have a lot of structural integrity. That's what I'm trying to say. But if you can be gentle enough to make it work, not pull your yarn too hard or anything, I think that you will have a fun time with this. And kind of on the other side of that same coin, the second yarn that I have listed in my chenille category is Chenille Hom Slim. Chenille Hom Slim and Sweet Snuggles Light are both by Loops and Threads, and I actually think that they are the same yarn. They just call them different names because Sweet Snuggles Light is more of like the bright, fun, pastel-y colors, and Chenille Hom Slim is more of like the neutrals, the things that you would use for like decor around your house pretty much. It's more of like the earthy tones. So it's just kind of like different color ranges, but I love them both so much. Again, you just got to be kind of more careful when you're using it. I think you cannot pull it as hard as you would like if you're working with acrylic or something. You just need to be cautious, and just keep in mind you are going to have little bits and bobs of like fuzz all over your floor and probably your clothes while you're working with it, but it is definitely worth it in my opinion. And again, going back to them kind of being the same yarn, excuse me Amazon. But yeah, going back to the fact that, are you serious? Only when I start talking. Anyways, going back to the fact that they are pretty much the same yarn, the retail price for Chenille Hom Slim is the same. It is $9.99 per skein, and you also do get 218 yards in the skein. So if you have a Michaels local to you, I would definitely check both of those out if you are looking to get into the whole like plushie making and you want to try out chenille yarn. Those are some of the best brands out there. Those are some of the ones that people like rave about on TikTok and all that. It's great. It is a little bit of a learning curve if you've only ever used like acrylic, but definitely something fun to get into. Next up on my list for chenille yarns that I love is Premier Parfait Chunky. Premier Parfait Chunky is, in my opinion, like the best chenille yarn out there. One, the color range is incredible. It is listed as a size 6 super bulky as well, I think. I don't think it's a size 5. The garbage truck now. The garbage truck now. Can I get some peace? I've already lost my train of thought. Okay, back to what I was saying. The shade range is incredible. So many different colors. You can like make so many different projects with it. It is slightly thinner than Chenille Hom Slim and Sweet Snuggles Light, although I think it is marketed as a size 6 just like those other ones. In my opinion, it is a tiny bit thinner. I feel like it should have been marketed as like a size 5. If it is, please disregard everything that I'm saying right now. I haven't fact checked this, but I find that with the Premier Parfait Chunky, I do not have the same issues with it shedding so much. Maybe a little shed here and there. Okay, you can't expect a chenille yarn not to shed at all, but it is also a lot stronger when I'm sewing with it, so I don't feel like I have to be as gentle while I'm like sewing and stuff. It is nice and strong. You can get nice tight stitches with it, and I just think it's incredible. I've made so many projects with Premier Parfait Chunky. Pretty much the only gripe that I have with this yarn is that you can only get it from premieryarns.com, and so many other crafters like also love it, so I find that it is always sold out. Not all of the yarn, of course, like there's always something to buy there, but in the Premier Parfait Chunky, I feel like you go on and it's like, unless you came on a restock day, half of the colors are going to be out of stock. So that is a little bit annoying. You always have to like try to keep an eye on it. I also do feel like it is a little pricey. It's $4.99 retail, which actually doesn't sound so bad for a chenille yarn, but you only get 131 yards in a skein. So you can't make as big of a project. Like one skein won't last you quite as long as like another skein of chenille yarn will. But again, it is like half the price. So it's kind of like a give and take there, I guess. It sort of all works out to be the same thing. But yes, definitely, if you can get your hands on some Premier Parfait Chunky in a color that you like because they have it in stock, I would definitely highly recommend it. Definitely check it out. Okay, last up for my chenille category. I don't actually even know if this yarn does fall into the chenille category or if it's just like a different type, but, and nobody better flame me for this, okay? Because if you saw my video where I was talking about my crochet likes and dislikes, my like crochet trend likes and dislikes, which like, by the way, I think that video has like over 7,000 views. Like, okay, that's like my highest performing video ever. So thank you guys so much. Also, I can't believe I didn't say this in the beginning of the video. Thank you guys so much for 820 subscribers, you guys. Like, I think in that video, the crochet trends, I was like freaking out over 100 subscribers. Like it's only been, I don't know, like a month or so, and now I have over 800 of you guys. Like, just thank you. Thank you for being here. I just, if I get too much into that, I'll start crying. So let's move on. You might remember that I spoke about how much I have a disdain for Burnat blanket yarn because I just find it to be too dense, too thick. I don't like the way that it works up for plushies. But I recently made a discovery. Do you see this cute little loaf cat that I made? Okay, do you love her coloring? I love her so much. My man named her Lucifer. She is made with Burnat baby blanket yarn. And I love Burnat baby blanket yarn. And I didn't know that at the time of filming that video. I would have mentioned it if I had. I was like sick recently. I got sick. And in an attempt to make me feel better, like my man made me some homemade soup and all that. And he brought me home a skein of Burnat baby blanket yarn in this nice little variegated color. I was, first of all, so grateful. I was like, oh my gosh, like that was like such a sweet thing for him to do, right? But I was a tiny bit apprehensive because I was just like, ugh, like I don't like Burnat blanket yarn. But I had never tried Burnat baby blanket yarn, and oh my goodness, it is like worlds better. If they could make Burnat blanket even slightly closer to Burnat baby blanket, they'd be in business, okay? They would have my vote. Burnat baby blanket yarn was so easy on the hands. It was much closer to a chenille yarn in the terms of like how easy it was on my hands, but much stronger. So I didn't have any of the issues with shedding, with having issues sewing with it. So honestly, Burnat baby blanket might be my go-to for like plushies now because the color range is incredible, and also like you just don't have to deal with any of the annoying things that come with like chenille yarn. Although I do still love chenille yarn, but just wow. Burnat baby blanket might be my new favorite. I'm gonna go on record and say might be my new favorite. It is slightly more expensive than the chenille yarns that you can get at Michael's. It does retail for $11.99 per skein, and I find that when it goes on sale, I think I've only ever seen it for like $9.99 or $8.99. So not too much of a discount, but you do get 220 yards in a skein, and you'd be actually surprised the amount of things that you can make with that amount of yarn. I would definitely check it out if you've never used it before, and if you hate Burnat blanket as much as I do, Burnat baby blanket might make you a believer. Much nicer on the hands, so take that with a grain of salt, just try it. I only have 2 yarns left, and we're going to call this my miscellaneous category because it didn't really fit into chenille or acrylic. Maybe we'll call it miscellaneous, maybe we'll call it my velvet category because technically I think they're both velvet. But first up for my velvet category is of course Burnat Velvet yarn. Not as much of a fan of the Burnat Baby Velvet as I am the Burnat Velvet, just Burnat Velvet. It's a size 5 chunky weight yarn. And it is just gorgeous in my opinion. I think you can make so many different things with that. I made my grandma a scarf one year, I think, with that. But it makes also beautiful scrunchies. You can make blankets with velvet yarn. Like, there's so much that you can do with velvet yarn. Even make plushies. And they come out so just gorgeous. That, like, crushed velvet look. So beautiful. And you actually get quite a lot of yarn in a skein of Burnat Velvet. Burnat Velvet does retail for $11.99 per skein, so it is a little bit on the pricier side, but again, hopefully if there's like any coupons going on, or again, it could be on sale because I find that most yarns are never retail price, but you do receive 315 yards in one ball of Burnat Velvet yarn, so that thing is hefty. It's pretty heavy. It'll just go a long way, and there's so many different colors that you can get depending on what look you like. I just think you'll have a ball with that. It's like just a dream to work with. So nice and soft on your hands, and it doesn't get all pilly or anything. It's lovely. And last up, the very last yarn in this video and in my velvet category is the Juicy Couture Luxe Velour. That's a mouthful. I think that it is specific to Joanne, if I'm not mistaken. And it is just these gorgeous velvet yarns. And yeah, maybe you're paying a premium because it's Juicy Couture, like just the name. But they really popped off with that yarn, I'm not gonna lie. It comes in a regular version and also a sparkly version. The sparkly version is just like chef's kiss for the holiday times. You can make gorgeous like little sparkly scrunchies and stuff. It's so beautiful. I think that this is the one that is more of a splurge because you don't get as much in a skein for the amount of money that you're paying. The Juicy Couture Luxe Velour yarn is $9.99 retail, and you only get 107 yards in a skein. If you're looking for a specific yarn color that's velvety and nice that you can't find in like Burnat Velvet, it is kind of a nice go-to because the color range is like really fun. There's so many like different colors that you probably can't find in other brands. And again, Joann's is always having coupons. Stuff is always on sale, so I would definitely check that out if you want to make something in velvet yarn and feel a little bit more bougie while you're doing it, a little bit more luxurious. It's very nice yarn. I've only ever made scrunchies with it and they came out so cute, but I definitely want to use that yarn more because it's just so gorgeous. And maybe I'm like a sucker for cute packaging or whatever, but I love it. I love it. And with all that being said, those were my favorite yarns. There's probably some that I missed because I love so many yarns, but I think those were like the genuine ones that I always find myself going back to or like running to that specific section in the craft store. Please feel free to let me know in the comments what your favorite types of yarns are because I love to get introduced to new beautiful yarns. I love having options in my repertoire. If you like this video, please consider subscribing or liking, commenting, joining the channel. I love having new besties here. I swear, just every little notification I get for this channel makes my heart smile. Like I've always wanted to be doing this and now here I am doing it, and the fact that you guys are enjoying it really just means the world to me. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their day, evening, whatever time you're watching this. Please enjoy yourself. I appreciate you so much for being here. Please check me out in all the other fun places that I have listed down below. And I will have links to all these yarns that I mentioned also down below in case you want to check them out for yourself. Thanks so much again. I appreciate you being here and I will see you guys next time.